Hello and welcome. This is the Tiffany's Fitness Podcast, a podcast where I talk to coaches, athletes, and strength enthusiasts about coaching, strength, life, balance, and more. My name is Tiffany, and today's guest is the wonderful Holly Myers. You might know her from Instagram. She has an Instagram with her husband, who's also a coach, Lift with Holly and Arryn. They're both awesome, but me and Holly really got to talk today about their travels and how she was able to balance traveling and training while being in new places and being sick, all sorts of stuff, and all the different tangents that come along with that. So enjoy the episode, and I'll check back in with you at the end.
Yeah.
So you did like a whole year of traveling. How did we get into that? Like,
oh,
how
man.
did you?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, I'll just finish the thought of we lived in Portland. I lived there for about 10 years
Mhm.
and Arryn lived there for like 8 or 9. I can't remember. And that's where we met and, started our business and all that stuff. And then, but we knew we wanted to travel like in a kind of like a bigger way, like do a big adventure type of thing if possible. And when the time was right. And so after Shelby, our beloved doggy, passed, then we took that as like okay, now's the time to do it. And we also knew we wanted to move away from Portland at some point, because the winters there were like way too rough for me.
Mm.
And I'm sure you're about to
I'm
experience
aware.
that.
I'm aware. Yeah. I'm like very well prepared for that. Everyone was very like, you're going to be so sad. It's going to be so dark.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
what I wasn't prepared for was the summer and the sun not going down. No
Yeah,
one
it's
warned
very
me
long
about
days.
that. And so like that was making me legitimately insane because I just wasn't
Yeah.
sleeping and no one warned me about that. And I was like on the phone with my friend Marion and I was like, I'm like feeling really out of control right now. And she's like, do you have blackout curtains? Maybe you should get some blackout curtains right now. And I was like, okay. And then like immediately I was like, oh, this is better. Okay. So now I'm prepared for summer and winter.
Right. It's like when you're in the north, that's something to know about. Like there's long days in the summer and then really short, dark days in the winter.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really rough for me too. But in any case, I wish you all the luck with that. I'll tell you all the things I tried if you end up needing like support.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, because I like really got so into like, how can this be better for me? And for 10 years, I just kept trying. And I just basically arrived at like, this is not for me. Which is hard because a lot of my friends are there and a lot of like, I want to go back and visit regularly to see my people, but it's not the environment
that's fair. And like, it's not the thing for everyone. I generally prefer like cloudy or darker days. Like overall, like we lived in Colorado and the sun like was up all the time and I did not love that. And also like the wind was really intense and like there's just like things that like climate wise that I didn't love. So I prefer a little bit more gray days. So I feel like this is not the wrong spot. And I've lived in the north before. I went to college in Humboldt.
Oh my gosh. So I grew up in Northern California.
Oh, cool.
So you know
where Humboldt
a little
is.
south of Humboldt. I do. Yeah, that's so funny.
Not everyone does. Yes, that's where
I know.
I went to college there for a couple of years. I did my junior college and the one up there. So like I like that environment and basically like since leaving Humboldt I was like, how can I get back to the Pacific Northwest? And
that's so great.
We're here.
And here you are. Yay. That's amazing. So, I'm so glad for you.
And then you're in Virginia though, so is that climate wise better?
Well, so far, yeah. Right. That was a big part of our So
go ahead.
I'm just trying to organize it in my mind. No, it's really okay. That's how my brain works. So knew we wanted to move away from Portland and do a big adventure. So we did all that for a year. We traveled, we did 9 different countries in 9 months, but it wasn't always like the same amount of time in each spot. It was like quite varied. But then when we were like really burnt out on that, it didn't take long to get burnt out on that. We then were like, where are we going to move then when we come back? Because we sold a lot of our stuff. We moved out of our like house that we were living in, and like all our stuff was in storage with our friends. And we were just looking for like, all the things, like what do we want in a place? And we learned a lot from our travels. And so we were looking for very specific things, and the climate was one of them. And here, apparently, it's like I haven't gotten depressed yet, which I would have in mid-September is when it would start for me in
Wow.
Portland. It would go mid-September all the way to mid-March.
That's so
Yeah.
long. I'm feeling
Yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
So I was like, so I'm not even, and it's November 15th today, and I'm like, I'm not depressed. And
Oh, that's good.
I think it has to do with more for me, the sad, like the seasonal depression thing. I think it has to do with like kind of what you were talking about before, like the amount of light in the day, like, or how long the day is. Um, so because it's a little closer to the equator, it's about like the latitude of, say, like the Bay Area
Mhm.
in California,
Yeah, yeah.
if you're thinking West Coast. So it's, yeah, and it's like the sun comes out in the winter, which is not the way it is in the Pacific Northwest. So
No,
it's
it's looking at my window, it is gray outside right
yeah.
now.
Well, it's actually that way today. Yesterday and today are like the first like really dreary days we've had yet, but otherwise apparently the sun is still supposed to be like showing up here and there like throughout the winter. So that's great. Uh anyway, so yeah, but yeah, loving it here. And I don't know, do you want to know more about Virginia? Do you want to know more about like our travels? Do you want to
Yeah,
know?
like where did you guys go, and like
Mm-hmm.
how did you maintain any semblance of like a training routine
Uh-huh. Mm.
while traveling with like no equipment presumably? Because that
Yeah.
like when because I mean I traveled, like we traveled here and I lived in a trailer for 2 months before
Right.
getting a house, and my training was sporadic
Oh
at
yeah.
best.
Yep.
And so like a whole 9 months of that would
Mm-hmm.
probably put me off the rails, like training wise. I mean, that not that
Oh
you wouldn't be
yeah.
like busy because you're like running around and like doing
Mm-hmm.
life and things, but
Right.
like specific workout times.
Absolutely. So I mean, that's a very juicy question, I feel like, because that was like, so we knew going into this trip that we were like, training is going to have to take a more of a back seat than it
Mhm.
ever has in our entire lives. And in that, like, because it's something that, okay, is both, obviously our like the way we make money
Yeah.
is not our own training necessarily, but it does relate, obviously,
Mhm.
right? You have to like show the people what you do so they see what you do. Like. So there's that. But like also it's something that we just love and that like is a grounding practice to us. It's a hobby as well. So it's like we knew we were also going to miss it, but we were also just so ready to experience something different. And we knew like there's not really, at least like with the resources we have or had and slash have, like we weren't going to be able to stay in places always that had a gym. We weren't going to be able to like pay, like buy bells to use like while we're somewhere else. So we just had to make it work. And that was really, it's interesting now having gone through it and seeing how like we were both really, I wouldn't say scared, but we were nervous about
Mhm.
how it would affect our training and if we would come back like not having much strength at all, or like,
Yeah.
losing a lot of whatever, I don't know, whatever it is, like technique,
You're afraid you're
strength.
gonna
Yeah.
lose the thing that you do.
You've built it up,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, like it's like our practice. And so then losing touch with our practice is like, not our favorite.
Mhm.
That ended up being very true. But we, so different places, it was different in different places, as
Mhm.
you would imagine. So like we did prioritize trying to stay places where there was a good gym as far as we could tell from the internet,
Yeah.
so like we picked our first place that we were for a month was in southern Portugal. And there was a gym there, just like we would take the bikes from the place we were staying and like bike 15 minutes to get to this gym that was it had like a good amount of equipment, and it was totally fine and great. Like they had barbells, kettlebells, like people, but the people in the gym, this was interesting. They were it was very much bodybuilding and not like, there was one coach there who was really focusing on mobility stuff. And like, I could see like, like sort of FRC type things. And I was like, that's cool, but then most of the gym goers were just like doing bodybuilding stuff. Something I noticed, which I think you will find interesting too, is that all the ladies were only working lower body, and I was the only one doing anything upper body.
Oh. It's like, it's
And I was
okay.
like, what is this?
You can press a weight. I promise you
Yeah.
won't immediately get like giant muscle.
Like the Hulk?
Yeah.
But like, even if you do, like, is that the worst? I'm not sure.
It's not. It's not the worst.
But that did feel very like going back in time, almost like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
We're
that
all just building up our butt.
In this culture, we're only like, and then conversely, all the guys not doing legs, not at all, not
just
no
like
legs.
super stereotypical.
Yeah. So Arryn and I were in there like the weirdos, which we usually are, like kind of the weirdos in most gyms doing what we're doing. And so anyway, so that was actually great. And I actually like even made progress on lifts like there, even though we had been traveling and doing all sorts of stuff, like we still were able to like maintain and slash build at that point. So that was the first place. Then we were in Spain for the second place. There was a great gym there for about a month. Great gym there, but same thing culturally, like mostly bodybuilding, dudes doing upper body, ladies doing lower body. And actually with a few more exceptions, there were some people who were like, obviously like power lifters, but there was still obviously this emphasis on like aesthetics as like the goal.
The goal, yeah.
So that was also interesting. So in Spain, I didn't say where we were. In Spain, we were in Valencia, which actually just had like a horrible flooding thing going on. I don't know if you saw that in the news, but in any case, then after that, what did we do after Spain? We went to Morocco. And this gym experience was actually far surpassed our expectations. I don't know if you followed, like if you saw any of our videos.
I did. I've been following
kind of like follow along.
Yeah, but I also could not.
You're like, where are they?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you when.
I'll describe it.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. When you live through it, it's like I just, that's why I asked, is like I don't know like what people see on Instagram anymore. Like people don't see everything. It's whatever. But so Morocco, this was the one where it was like a rooftop gym and you could see the ocean from this rooftop, and there was like a mosque that was right next to it, and there was like, so there was call to prayer every, forget the time interval, but it was multiple times a day where there's like this loud like sort of like singing and then sometimes just talking, but it's so loud. So that would happen like during our training, that we'd be up on this rooftop, super sunny. It felt great. Like, you can see the ocean and then you're hearing like, stuff in Arabic and you're like, I don't know what this means, but it's really cool. Like it's a very interesting, like I've never had this experience before.
Yes, it sounds like a very specific experience.
Yes, it's a very specific experience. And the thing is that gym only had very little kettlebells. So we did mostly like barbell stuff, which is fine because like even though we use a lot of equipment, but people have us like as like the kettlebell people in their minds, I think, or whatever. But so that was also really great. I don't think at that point we weren't able to like, we definitely like maintained stuff. And I think probably not a lot of progress was made there, but like there was maintenance there, and we would go like 3 to 4 times a week. Then after that is where it got really wild, because that's when we went to India from Morocco. And in India, we were really intimidated about like planning the trip through India, because just the ways of getting around felt so like, oh my God, and India is humongous. India is so big as a country and there's so much diversity and it's great. And it's like, it was the most culture shock we'd ever experienced. But in any case, we worked with a company to like basically make our itinerary. So it was like a travel agency. And they had us moving like like the longest we stayed in one place, I think was like 6 days, but otherwise we were moving every like few days,
Yeah.
two-ish, maybe whatever days. So we were in like 12, no, something like 15 different places in 6 weeks.
That's so many. That's so much moving.
I will never do. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that because I'm wild like that. I was gonna say I'll never travel like that again. If I do, I'll know better what to do next time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we only went to the gym twice in 6 weeks in India, and they were both like toward the end of our trip there because that's where the gyms were that were like accessible to us. And that just all that moving, it's like
it's exhausting.
Overnight buses. Yeah. Overnight buses, overnight trains, like 3 to 8 hour curvy like car rides where you're like, we're both like nauseous. And then just other like the whole thing's so unfamiliar. Like all the food that we're eating is like totally, I mean, like different. We love Indian food from like, like what we know of Portland. Indian food from being here. Yeah, right. But it's like it's a different thing. Yeah. It's a totally different thing. So basically our workouts, like while we were in India, were all mostly body weight and just in like whatever little space in whether it was a hotel room or an Airbnb or like a whatever place we were staying. And they were short. They were just like, use what you've got. Like, if there's a ledge, do a pull up on it, like some random ledge. Like lots of push-ups, lots of like, slow tempo, like step downs from like a table that seems sturdy enough, just like really trying to like scrappy,
adapting
like,
and overcoming.
Put it together. Very much. But the other thing about that was I got really sick in India. When we first got there, I got typhoid fever.
Oof.
Yeah. And so that manifested in me as like my guts were just like not okay for the entire time. So we're moving that much. We're in totally unfamiliar. Yeah, it just basically bad training. Like we made it work and I'm proud of us for like not just doing the all or nothing thinking like, oh, well, we don't have access to a gym, so we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Right. I do think that like that growth in our mindsets around like, literally like a 7-minute something is better than nothing because it truly did help us feel better. Like, because of all the travel is like, you're
sitting,
like crunched over.
Yeah.
You're like in a seat that doesn't fit you right. And you're like, but you have to be there. And then you have to carry, like, because we also just had one big backpack each. So we're just like sometimes walking a really long time with like a big ass backpack. And so being strong really paid off. But in any case, training in India was like a total, like a wash, but it also really held us together in the sense of like mentally and in the sense of like just doing things that would make us feel better from like all the weird postures that we've been in and all that.
Yeah. I think that's always like really important when people get into training, like shifting that mindset to be like, some days you're not going to get everything done. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like sometimes training is not the priority in your life. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. And just use it in the ways that are going to benefit you and not a way that's going to like make you feel insane. Like
and cause more stress.
Yeah, because you could have very easily been like, oh, we're not getting our workouts in. Oh, I'm not doing this.
Right.
And it could have spiraled very quickly and like made everything feel even worse. Whereas if you go, I'm gonna do 5 sets of 10 push-ups, and then you're like, okay, well, I did 5 sets of 10 push-ups.
And that's all I did. Yeah.
And that's what I got done.
And that's okay.
Cool. Right. And that's better than doing nothing. And that's fine.
Absolutely. And I used to be a person who like had very rigid like ideas about what would make a workout like worth
Workout.
doing. Yeah, or like what counts, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So very much like so much growth in that realm
Yeah.
over the trip. But so yeah, India. So basically having like messed up guts for I had messed up guts for like 8 weeks
Oof.
straight. And so like it was bad. Like my hair was falling out and like I
Oh my
was like
God.
sick. Like I was
And then
just
you're just
sick
like in
and
a country where you can't like you like
you just don't even know.
how do I
Yeah.
even handle this here?
Yeah. So
Oof.
and like and I also, you know, you're in a new place and you want to make the best of it and I didn't know how I didn't know that I had typhoid until like after 8 weeks and I was like I'm like there's something really wrong with me. And then I went to the doctor and they were like it's this. So after India we then went to Indonesia. So we were in Bali for 2 months and part of the reason we chose there is because we just needed somewhere with more infrastructure,
Mhm.
or like not better for like,
Just more structure.
yeah, like a little bit more structure and like I needed, we both really needed to like chill or feel a little bit less overwhelmed. So we stayed in an area of Bali that wasn't busy.
Mhm.
And that was, and it was such a cool experience. But in Bali, there was a cool gym. It was like, it was a CrossFit actually. So we were going there like 3 times a week. And then I got on medicine for my sickness. And then there was like a whole cascade of like other infections and stuff I got like from that. And so it was just the whole thing. I just felt bad. I felt really bad. Yeah, I got a parasite after
Oh my God.
after like I had a 2 week break of I don't have typhoid anymore, and then I got a parasite, and then I had really messed up guts again. So okay, and through all this, I'm like still training.
Yeah.
I'm going to the gym, and I'm like just doing what feels good, and I'm like sometimes I think I did push a little more than I necessarily needed to, but I like the feeling of pushing myself too. So
Yeah.
that was hard for me to balance. But
Think that's a
yeah,
coach
I
thing. All of us like that's like like it's really hard to be like I want to take a break. I wanted to like or
mm,
like knowing how to like stop going hard is like a it's
mm,
like a practice that you have to like
definitely.
practice. For,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
and also like practice what you preach a little bit
Hmm.
cuz I tell that's what I tell people I work with is like
Yeah,
you know listen to your body and then I'm like I'm going to keep going anyways, you don't.
right. I think that's definitely, I think you're really onto it with the coaches like feeling like the rules that apply to everyone else don't apply to me. It's like you got to check yourself on that. Like
Yep.
sometimes I do say to myself, like when I'm making a decision, I'm like, okay, well, what would I tell someone I'm coaching? And
Mm-hmm.
then that really does help me. Um, but also I've like really also grown in the sense that like I don't feel the need to prove things with
Yeah.
what I'm lifting
Yeah.
like anymore. Like, and I, that was like a huge thing for me. Like, but I think really like I had been working toward getting over that for like years, but this trip and getting so sick and like all that stuff really basically showed me that like that's actually not as important to me. Like making PRs is not actually as important to me as how I feel.
Yeah.
Like just there. Like so if it helps me feel good, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm enjoying what I'm doing truly and not just doing it for the like, yeah, I did that thing, you know, like then yeah. But you know, it's a continual journey. But
Yeah, it comes and goes in
yeah.
waves for sure. It's
Hmm.
and like I don't know if like you guys write your own programming or something, but
We
like
do.
for me, when I write my programming, I have to very much be like, okay, this is I am a client of myself,
Yeah.
and I have to program myself like I would program if this wasn't me.
Anyone. Yeah.
Like I can't just like make myself train like an asshole because it's me. Like I still have to like train it. So like when I do program for myself, it's like I always like program myself like in the middle of my clients when I'm like plotting myself
that's a good trick.
So like I'm like, okay, what are this person's goals? And like how like and like very much like yeah, it's like a very like, okay, this is just another person.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help and not make their life miserable. Because why would I want to do that to somebody who's I'm working with, right?
Exactly.
So, but it's me, and also like I deserve to like have good, nice programming that doesn't kick my ass every day. So, I program myself like in the middle of everyone, so I can like have that in the mindset of like this is just another person that I'm programming for.
Yeah.
And then I program myself out like really far, so then when I get 6 weeks out, I'm like, who wrote this?
Oh yeah, exactly.
I remember a damn thing.
Don't worry about it. You'll get your time to go hard. Don't worry.
So I think
great.
I just like being able to be like, okay, this is how I'm doing it. And listening to myself, and also listening to myself as a coach, going, if you don't feel good, like you didn't sleep well, adapt, shift.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay.
Don't. Yeah.
And then that's been really important. And also like because I train like that press, as you know, and I train it outside, that's not really going to be a thing right now because it's so wet. I'm not going to risk my life for a bench press PR while I have rain pouring down and I'm on uneven ground. Like that's not worth it. So what do?
You need to wear like goggles. Cause getting like a big raindrop in your eye when you're mid bench press, that sounds like the worst thing.
Very scary. Yeah, I
definitely have had something like that happen to me, like mid get up, like something fell in my eye, and I was like,
chalk. It's always chalk.
No.
So like my training for the winter is going to look very different than it would have if I was like training in a gym.
Right.
Like I mean, like in theory I could bench press in here, but like if it tilts at all, the roof will be hit, and that doesn't feel like a worthy risk either. So.
Yeah. If it's not like you don't want to ruin the room, and
no.
Yeah. So some things are just like not as important as others, and we just need to like let that be okay. Yeah. At certain times, and then maybe other times, like, you know, training maybe someday you'll be
cycles.
It's so true. Do you want me to finish talking about the trip?
Tell me about after Bali or in Bali.
So Bali. So Bali training was good, but it was again like because my body was so like messed up from being so sick, like I didn't make hardly any progress on anything, but I just, you know, I still kept showing up and doing it because I need it mentally. It makes, you know, I just needed to in whatever way. And it was definitely like, you know, it wasn't helpful to compare myself to like, oh, well, back in Portugal, it's like, dude, this is really different than Portugal and what I've been through now. Like, it doesn't make any sense to compare it to that. Like, so, okay. So I just had to like, you know, I had to remind myself things like that. And then, so Bali, so we were like really burnt out on travel by this point, and we were like, but I've always wanted to go to the Philippines really bad because my mom grew up there and is from there. And I was like, oh my God, but we're so close. We have to go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
So we realized the cheapest flight back to the West Coast where my family is, where we were going to stay after to like just kind of reorient, is California. So, or the cheapest flight was from Japan to California. So we're like, well, we might as well, Philippines, like 2 weeks in the Philippines, 2 weeks in Japan, and then done. So that's what we ended up doing in the Philippines, because we were hanging out with some fellow like trainer friends who we knew from the internet, but we hadn't met in real life. It was cool to do. So we were able to train a little bit more frequently there, like maybe twice a week. Maybe we trained like 3 to 4 times when we were 2 weeks in the Philippines at like an actual gym that had like whatever you would want. So I think I snatched a kettlebell for the first time since September at that point, and it was May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time to go without snatching.
I know. So I know as someone who like likes,
Loves to snatch.
this kind of thing, you're like, whoa, yeah, like,
Oh,
oh wait, no. Okay, wait, that's a lie. It was Spain. Spain, I was able to snatch, but that was in December. So still December to May.
that's still
It's
a long
like
time.
not my favorite.
Yeah.
But honestly, I actually like I was at the point before we left on our trip, I was kind of at the point where I was like sort of sick of like everything that was happening in our like not in our lives, everything. That's very dramatic, but I can be dramatic.
It's okay. We can be dramatic.
We're dramatic here. I'm sick of everything.
I'm all for drama here.
I'm sick of everything. No, so I was like, yeah, I just am like, it feels so stale being here in Portland because like, and then like the training we were doing, I was just like, I need a break from it. So it was actually fine. So then when I came back and I snatched in May with my friend who does, you probably know her. She does sport, Reg in the Philippines.
Oh,
Kettle
yeah. Yeah, I do know her. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
So Reg was like, we should take a video of us snatching together. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my God, that's the first time I snatched in a while. And it was actually fun. Whereas before I got kind of like, yeah, I'm snatching. I do like it, but like, you know, but the break really helped. The break and then doing it with her, like really helped it be like, oh, this is fun again. Like remembering that.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the breaks are helpful in that. And I think like with my training, like I kind of have different times where different things are the focus and other things take the back seat. Like I do sport and I do bent press. You can't do both all in. I tried, did not work.
Didn't work. No,
my body was not happy with that.
Absolutely not.
Like I was tired and I kept hurting myself. So like it's like, okay, well now I'm not doing bent press like the way that I would like to be doing bent press, but I'm able to snatch or I'm able to do long cycle or whatever whatever lifts I'm working on. And I think that is also like really helps me to keep training like something I love.
Definitely.
There's
the variety.
Like okay, sporting bent press are very different.
Oh yeah.
They're so different.
So different.
So like being able to be like, okay, well right now my training is all focused on sport. Like I can just focus on my sport lifts, blah blah blah, do all that. And then it's like, okay, well now that that's done, let me shift back to the other thing I love.
Right.
And then it's really exciting to get back into it. By the end of my training cycles, I'm always like, I'm really excited to go do
I'm excited. Yeah.
I'm really excited to go do the thing that I like to do.
I feel that. Yeah, like you need to build in those if you like. And just for people to normalize, like, yeah, you might get a little bored with something, especially if it's something that you have like a really ambitious type of goal for. Like that means you have to do it for a long time.
Yeah.
And that means you have to find ways to make it exciting for yourself. And that sometimes means, which is counterintuitive, sometimes means you have to stop doing it.
Yeah. You have to take a break.
And people are like, what? And
if you're in it for the long haul, you gotta take a break. I mean, that's also like why I do like juggling and flow and things like that. Like, does that really benefit any of my goals? No, not really.
It's
like
just fun.
It's fun. It makes me happy, and genuinely having a day where I can just like F off and do whatever I want. And like there's no structure. That's why I don't do like competition style juggling. There's no structure. I just go out and I just go whatever. This could be a 15-minute thing. This could be a 2-hour thing. It could be whatever I want.
Just whatever feels.
Until it comes together in a way that I feel good and I go, okay, cool. And then I'm done. And then like that's sort of a thing that helps me stay on track and finding ways to like incorporate fun into your training.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Whether that's flows or body weight or doing classes or yoga, whatever it is. There's so many different ways to move.
Yes.
Like there's a way that
limit yourself.
Fun. Like that'll there's something out there that's going to be like, this is an enjoyable thing. Like sometimes it's clubs, clubs. Sometimes it's mace flow. It's been mace flow a lot right now.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been doing
I would like to get one of those. I don't whenever I've like trained them a little bit, but we don't have any, but I think it would be fun to. Yeah, I've always enjoyed it when I do it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I just forget about this.
I mean, I have so many different little training things back here. It's hard to like do them all. That's the other thing. It's like, I'm about to do my Bulgarian bag in how long? Like, now I gotta figure out how to do that.
Well, that's
so you just find the things that that, make you happy, and you incorporate those and like alongside the things that are hard, because you can do both. You can
Right.
have fun, you can do hard things.
Absolutely. And sometimes the hard thing is fun, like if
Yeah.
you're that kind of person.
As I think
As we are.
yeah.
But yeah, so let's see, where was I?
You were training
I was
with
in
Reg in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, training with Reg. Yeah. Hi, Reg.
Yeah. Little shout out.
Little shout out to Reg. Let's see. So yeah, that was just kind of like, again, I was still recovering. I like still was like, my body was like felt trashed by all the travel, all the sicknesses, all that. And then in Japan, we did just body weight workouts, just a couple of times, maybe 3 times in the 2 weeks that we were there, because actually Arryn couldn't go to any of the gyms that seemed cool because he has tattoos.
Oh.
Yeah, so they would have to all be covered, and he has neck and hand tattoos. So
interesting.
Isn't that yeah. So it's very much still a I actually don't want to speak and say the wrong thing actually about it, but it was something, it's like in their culture, it depends on where you are. Also, like certain places are a little bit more traditional, and then certain places are like, I think a little bit more lenient about it. But yeah, it was like something about, it was like the tattoos, but then also there was like specific requirements about like the types of shoes you could wear. And we were like, yo, we have very limited shoes, and we're not going to buy shoes. So it was just like, we're almost done. We're tired. We're just going to like do the body weight stuff and I mean, again, like throughout all of this, so much walking.
Yeah.
Like so
it's not
much
like you're being inactive
everywhere.
Yeah, like
sometimes we were, though. I mean, like certain periods of time were quite inactive, but generally like the walking, like I'm not like a metrics person in terms of like not
how
like
many steps
because
you have
I
to
can
hit per day.
Yeah. I was trying to say that, but like, and I don't want to say I am a metrics person. It depends though, because of like my history of like disordered eating when I was a kid, like I have to be careful with metrics. And that's the same thing with like the weight lifted and like, oh, is it going up? It has to always be heavier, right? So I have to be like really careful with what metrics I track and what I make it mean. So, but just to give you a sense, like the amount that I walked, and we would walk regularly in Portland, like it went up like quite significantly over the year, like because it was so much like walking around, exploring places. Yeah.
I mean, anytime I go on a trip, my walking goes up. Yeah, because you're just doing more.
Yeah.
But no, I feel the same way about like tracking metrics. There's only so many things that I'm like mentally able to track, because otherwise my brain goes, what if we did less food, or what if we did more weight? And you're like, no, I see you.
Wait. Yeah.
I see where we're going here. Let's
not do that.
How's that roll it back? Right. my brain really wants to do disordered everything. It's really trying, and I have to be like, nope, it's a check. Nope. It's a check that I have to make.
Oh yeah.
My brain's like, what if we just like didn't eat any food or any carbs?
Like, no,
no, we have to eat foods.
We gotta do that.
We have to eat foods. Like, what if we just like ran nonstop so we could burn more calories? No, we have to stop that right now. My brain loves that crap. So I feel the same way on the tracking of the metrics. There's like a few things that I can keep track of, but a lot of the things I have to very much be like, no, it's just not a thing. I get to just not happening.
Right. I don't need to know this.
I don't need to know everything. And also like knowing everything isn't always very helpful.
No,
like even for people who maybe don't have brains like that, knowing tracking every single thing can turn into just like a thing to track, and just a metric versus like, how does this make me feel? Because that's also so important. More important than any metric, I think.
Totally. And that's like what I wanted to say, like what came up for me as you were talking about that is because it's like, okay, but what is the point of what I'm tracking? Like, will this information actually benefit me? How do I want this information to benefit me? Is it really benefiting me? Am I just wasting my brain space to something else that's more important to me that I could just be then doing? Because if I'm spending, again, like, yeah, because I had like a phase of like tracking everything I ate for like a while. This was like years and years and years ago, before I was even training like seriously.
Same. Yeah.
And yeah, and so that was, but that took the amount of time it took, the amount of mental, like I was tallying all day in my head. And this is like, now that I don't do that, I'm like, I've regained so much energy, so much like, oh, I can spend that like doing a hobby that I love, or, doing anything that just like gives me back so much more than like this thing like of like, basically, yeah, like scoring myself, like scoring my day. And like, then at the end, it's like just yeah.
It's really you keeping score with how good you're doing at being a person. And that's it gets out of control very quickly. At least it did for me.
For me too.
When I was tracking, because I feel like a lot of coaches, when they first start, you do the MyFitnessPal and you're tracking all the things, and was bad for me. It was really, really bad for my brain. And it's taken years to not do that. And still sometimes I'm like, but what if?
Yeah. I feel you. It's really not, it's a thing that's like, it's the impulse, I think, is from a good place. Like the reason why it like wants you to feel in control of something.
It's the control for sure.
But then it's like, okay, but I don't think it actually gets you what you need. Like what you really need is, because I just think about, this is very like inner child healing stuff for me, where I'm just like, if someone thought like obsessive, like, well, you should be better at that, or you should be lifting, you should be snatching the 32 again because you were doing that before, whatever. And then like, that's like flagged for me as like, oh, like little kid Holly like needs some attention here.
Yeah.
Like, what is she like there's like a need that I'm not meeting. And so there's like this, it's like, I'm trying to look for external validation to like fill whatever this thing is that I'm not either giving to myself or getting in my relationships. And that's like, so yeah.
Yeah. It's a full-on process, and it's like, and it's a practice that you have to like be aware of as you it's not something you'd be like, okay, well, now I've solved that, let's move on.
No, it's like
it's a thing,
a practice again, like it's like training.
Like
I'm training every day to like be nicer to myself.
Yep. And man, it's really easy to be mean to myself. So you have to, that's the easiest. It's way easier to be mean to yourself than it is or it's way easier to be mean to yourself than it is to be nice to yourself.
Right.
And so you have to be like, wait a second, that's not how I would talk to anyone else.
Literally
like, anyone else. I would
not even like my worst enemy. I wouldn't say that shit. Yeah. No,
I mean, maybe a worse enemy.
Maybe a worse enemy, but like I wouldn't say it out loud in that.
Yeah. No, you're fair. I'm also just a little bit petty, so.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I feel that. It feels good to be petty sometimes.
Yeah, it does. So you went from Japan back to California?
Oh yeah. And then there was
whereabouts in California did you go?
So, like I said, near not Humboldt, but like about a couple hours away from Humboldt, like
cool.
south. So I grew up in a very small town, like less than 1,000 people town in the mountains.
Cool. Me too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Where's your in
Central
California?
Yeah, Central California. It's called
What is it?
Oakhurst.
Oh yeah, never heard of that.
It's south of Yosemite National Park.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so
like that's where everyone works. is in the park or at a
Yosemite.
hotel for the park.
Okay. That's so fun to meet like another fellow person who grew up in like a really small town in California.
Rural as hell.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was like one stoplight in our entire county because there weren't enough people to like need a stoplight and like
Yep.
yeah. I grew up like feeding deer out of my hand. Like
yeah, it's just like
yeah.
there's a movie theater.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing you could do.
Yeah, and the like
like we used to go to the grocery store and look at greeting cards, and that was like a thing. That was like a thing we did.
No, I have memories of like, yeah, like walking through like the little town that was bigger than the town I grew up in, but the one that I went to high school in, which was half an hour away, of course.
That's what, yeah.
So yeah. So then we would go and like walk around the CVS and like be like, what's here? What is in here?
Ooh, you know, like all these
what are we doing? Because like this was also before, I don't know how old I'm about to be 34 next month.
Yeah, I'm 32.
I don't know. 32. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, like similar type of where it's like we had the internet, but it was like on computers.
Yeah.
Like for a while.
There was a computer room when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's the computer room. You have computer class, maybe.
And yeah, we had a computer class, typing class. And even when we did get like internet on the phones or like cell phones, I did not have service at my house.
Yeah.
I lived in there was places you could have service, but at my house I did not have so like it was like that's it. Goodbye everyone. I will see
my parents just got Wi-Fi at their house, like or not Wi-Fi, sorry, service, like cell service at their house like a year ago or something.
Yeah.
Like it's like very remote.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's funny to relate in that way. So yeah, so after all of that travel, this was really such like a whoa, like such a contrast was okay. Traveled literally circumnavigated the world and then ended up right back in the place that I was born and grew up and we were there for like, I think we were there for 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. And there was a gym that we would drive again, half an hour to go to, and we'd go like 3 times a week, just to build up. And again, and I also was able to see my doctor and like get on some more medication and supplements to like help my system better. Just like, because my guts were still like not okay. They were not like absolutely horrible, but they were still like
not right.
You know, like what just happened to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started feeling better. Like that familiarity was really good. And yeah, so then we were there, and then while we were there, we were doing a bunch of research on like where do we want to live? Lots of research. And then we decided, okay, well, when we leave, we'll check out some places. And then we ended up loving it here. But then once we realized we liked it here, we came here the first day, we're like, this is it.
Oh, good. That's such a good feeling.
And then it really is like, this is our favorite place we've ever lived.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which is amazing because we just that feeling of not having a home for like a year was like,
it's stressful.
Really stressful.
Like even if you were having fun, it's still like an extra stress in the back. Like you're like, where do we go? Like where do we go?
Yeah. It's where do we go and what does life look like after this? But it's even just like on a more like subconscious level of like everything's different. I don't know what this place is. So it's like that feeling of like, so when you wake up in the middle of the night, like not knowing where you are, but you're like, I have to pee, but like I need to be more alert than usual than if you like live somewhere. Yeah. So I don't like trip on something. It was that, but over and over and over and over and over and over again in different places. So, anyway, so yeah, so then we went and lived with Arryn's family stayed there for about 5 weeks, I think. And his dad has like a little home gym room. So we would use that. And then, yeah, that's actually because we used to have access to a gym there, but then we didn't have it anymore. So yeah, it was just that for a little while and then ended up in Richmond, but we didn't have a place to live yet. So we were staying with a friend. And then, so again, it was like 2 weeks of like no gym.
Where do we go?
So yeah, 2 more weeks of like, let's go visit. Like one day we visited like 6 houses in one day. It was like, also, yeah, but it was like, we're almost there. We're almost
you can see the end. You can see
yeah, like it's really
line.
almost there. So let's just find the place. And we love this place that we ended up in.
So
But again, so then 2 more weeks of just like kind of like training outside in with a couple of light weights. And then but then like now we're here, we have all our stuff back. We have all our equipment. And also Arryn's been doing some like lessons out of a gym here that's also really cool. So we go to the gym regularly too. So now we're here. I think we've been here like 6 or 7 weeks, like in this house.
Yeah.
And it feels really good.
That's
feels really good to start settling. Yeah. It's been a lot. I just feel like I'll be processing this trip for my entire life.
Yeah.
Of the amount of that I wasn't able to process while it was happening. Because like, you know, when you go on a trip and then you come back and you're like, oh, wow. And you just like think about it and you sort of like it integrates into you. This was like so much like back to back to back to back to back, like new thing all the time for so long that it was just
you can't take it all in at that time.
Yeah, no, it was like oversaturation. And then like, so now here I'm like, things are really like settling into my body and into my like, wow, I really did that. And like, I really went through all of that. So yeah, it feels good to,
and now you
get
to kind of like land and like get back into like a routine.
Yes.
Gotta be, I don't know, like a relief to be in a routine.
It's such a relief.
After that long. Cause
it is.
Like, I know when we move and travel and not having that, like, this is what I do on this day. Like, it throws me off. And like I said, I love the excitement. I love to mix it up sometimes, but like generally speaking, I really like to have my little schedule. I like to, okay, well, this is the time I'm gonna go walk my dog. And I do have a dog who is neurotic. So we have to walk at the same time. So like, otherwise she knows.
I love that.
Like, so like
I respect that.
We have our little routine, and it helps me just keep trucking along.
Yeah, good.
Even when everything feels like it's really hard to do things, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going because this is what I do, and hopefully the things will start to fall into place.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I know it's funny because we're also like that, and we also like the excitement, and it's hard. It's like very confusing.
Yeah.
It's like you sort of can't have it both ways, but you also can. And I think we've experienced what it's like to basically have none of that schedule. And it's like, I absolutely don't want to do that part of that again. I want to travel more, but like not right now. And I want to make sure I can have like maintain a semblance of
schedule
routine, unless it's just like, you know, a shorter trip, then like whatever, I'm fine with it. But yeah, it's kind of can be like a weird thing when you're a person who both craves novelty and structure. Routine.
Yeah, I feel that real hard. It's you got to find that balance. And like I said, like how I do it is, you know, I throw in my juggling days where it's like I can do whatever, or I'll do that different. You know, you just find the ways to like keep it fun while also maintaining like mostly a routine. Right. Or taking weeks off, because I do that too. Like I just go, okay, I'm not doing anything this week. I can do whatever I want. I'm gonna go run around and I don't know, play in Seattle. My sister was here a few weeks ago, so we went to Seattle. And pony and we went to a bunch of little state parks and all that stuff. And I was like, I was thinking like there was like this part back, like if she had come, or like when I lived in San Diego when I was a little bit more high strung about my training, it would have stressed me out to like not train for that week. Like it would have put me in a place where I was now I have to like check all the food that I'm taking, like all. Instead, I just got to like go hang out. I ate food. It didn't matter. I was I was walking around so much more. But like it wasn't a stressful thing. It was just like,
yeah,
we're just able to do things, and being able, and then getting right back into my routine, being like, all right,
right. Be like, it's still here when I want
still
it.
here.
And like, yeah.
And I didn't lose all my strength because I took
right. Oh gosh. Right. That actually I don't know, like, so after that whole thing, like coming back and having the idea of like, okay, how much strength will I lose, or how much have I lost, and all that stuff. Not that much.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And you were like for a really long time.
Oh yeah, we were gone. We are doing all sorts of things in this kind of gym, that kind of gym, no equipment, lots of equipment. It just was like totally so different for so long. And I'm basically like my squat is like, my front squat barbell is like basically about to where it was like as I've ever, like it's basically as strong as it's ever been. As it, like, and then like snatching wise, like I haven't messed with anything over 24 for right now, but I've also not, like it's not really the time for that right yet. Yeah, like it doesn't matter. I'm not in a rush. I think that's where I can tell I'm like have grown a lot, because before I probably would have been like, well, I need to get back to wherever my like my like strongest point was, with certain lifts that you like have a benchmark for yourself that you like really pride yourself on, right? But I'm like, like I mean, when the time is right, the time is right. And I'm not scared that I can't do it anymore. I'm not like I physically probably could. It just technically wouldn't be great, and I probably would do just like a couple sets, and even that could be fun, but like I think I just am better served. Like if I'm thinking of myself as a client, right? I'm better served at like working lighter for, more volume right now. And so it's fine.
I mean,
but
I like,
and
I like a lot of volume, but also I'm a lifter, so
that's true. That is a big difference between sport and hardstyle.
We love the volume.
You like the volume. I'm like, dude, I don't need that much volume. Like too much volume, especially with like overhead lifts. Like I think long cycle would kill me. And I know frankly, it kills long most people. Kind of the thing that long cycle does, unfortunately. Oh, I know, but like I honestly, I just my body, like I would probably have to eat like a lot more protein. I eat a fair amount of protein, but I just mean like my recovery would have to be like so on point if I was to do long cycle. Yeah. Because it's so hard. It would be so hard on my body.
Yeah, the biathlon training always kicks my ass. That's what I was trying to do, is biathlon, was just snatch and double jerk. And then also,
is it double clean and jerk?
Or no, it's just jerk. Biathlon's just jerk. And then there's long cycle, which is
I would rather do long cycle than
you're not wrong. Double jerks are the bane of
you're not wrong. Oh god, I hate being in the rack. That's the other thing. That's why,
that's your rest period.
I know,
nonsense.
Yeah, no.
But also, everyone should come do sport. But it's so much fun. I think but that was what I was trying to do. I was trying to do 16 kilo biathlon, and bench,
which is for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Both lets you do 10 and then I was trying to bench press on top of that.
No.
And
that stops.
It was stupid. And I was talking to Dan, I think you know Dan Perio. And he's sort of like we kind of bounced bench press stuff off of each other. And he was like, you have to stop bench pressing because your focus is like, he's like, I was like, I was like, hey, no, you're right. You're right. Thanks for that reality check. Cause I was like, man, nothing feels good. And he's like, yeah, you're trying to, you snatched 8 minutes and then you tried to bench press the next day. What do you think is going to feel good? And I was like,
gross.
Fair enough. My bad.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you learn the hard way.
Yes.
Some lessons you just do.
And then you take those lessons and you make it so your clients never make those mistakes.
Yes, you do.
I've made so many mistakes that my clients will never have to make, which is great.
I know. They should thank us for that.
I have made more mistakes than anyone. And I am thrilled to pass on that knowledge so no one else does the stupid things that I've done with my in my training.
Yes.
Shout out to
that's great. Shout out to you. Yeah,
for screwing up so often.
Yes, absolutely.
Whoa. We're coming to the end here. So how can people find you on the internet? How can people work with you? Where?
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, our website is liftwithhollyandArryn.com. But like our Instagram is at liftwithhollyandArryn. Arryn's name is spelled kind of weird. It's Arryn. So, but it's probably gonna show up before you get to that point.
And I'll link it so they don't have to actually just search.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Why did I even think that? It's because we had computer class where that's why
you have to type it all out. I'll
you type it. Yeah. So so that, and then pretty much like that's
where they can find you.
And if they want like the updates on like how to work with us, because Instagram doesn't always show everyone things, they could join our newsletter, which would be great. And I can send you the link to that so you can link to that. Yeah. So but this was fun to chat with you. And it was like our first time talking, but it didn't feel like that. So.
No, I'm glad it didn't. Thank you so much to Holly for coming on and chatting with me. I had such a great time. I hope that y'all got as much out of the conversation as I did. Make sure you are following Holly and Arryn on all of the things. They are Lift with Holly and Arryn, and all of their things are linked in the show notes. They have a bunch of different ways you can work with them, and they have a newsletter, so check them out. They're awesome, very knowledgeable, fabulous coaches, so check them out. All of their things are linked. In other news, this is Cyber Monday. If you're listening to that on the day that it comes out, which means I have a sale going still. Code HOLIDAY to get discounts on basically anything that I do. One-on-one coaching, group coaching, ready to go programs, all of it is on sale. So I will have those linked as well. Make sure that you're taking advantage of that right now. And today is also the first day of my group kettlebell sport training, Steel Stamina. So if you're interested in sport, a little bit more accessible rates, but still like excellent coaching, getting feedback from me, this is a really good way to do that. And that is also going to be linked, and code HOLIDAY, so you can get a discount on that first month. We're going to be working and dialing in all the technique, all the different kettlebell sport lifts, and then we'll shift into focusing for one lift come the new year. It's going to be a lot of fun, so definitely check it out. If you have questions, you can always reach out. And this is the last episode of the year, so I hope that you enjoyed this season of Tiffany's Fitness podcast. I think it was a pretty solid one, and we'll be back in January with new episodes with new guests. And if you have any people that you'd like to have on the podcast, let me know. And any of the things. This extra outro has gotten a little bit rambly, but there's a lot going on. I want to make sure that you all have all the information. So that, I think, is it. Check out Holly and Arryn. Check out all of my different sales. Thank you for listening this year, and I will be back in the new year with new episodes, new guests. Happy holidays, and see you next time. Bye.